to small business loans, aka Bo Eckstein, has an interesting thought experiment for you, and that is really quite simple. Your first small business should be your last job. We're going to break this down, see what he means by that. Bo, I really like this idea. What do you really want people to think about in this scenario?
Well, I think, getting into a business or getting into anything, it takes work, right? So like the idea of this is like, this is your last big step into ownership, and it's not going to be easy, but if you do it right, you can replace yourself eventually in that business. And that's when you get to like kind of to a true time freedom. I think a lot of people out there, like we want to live the cash flow lifestyle, and we have to figure out how we can do that. And I think the fastest path at this point that I see is getting SBA financing and buying a business, because it's and I understand the one rental at a time, that definitely works 100%. But if you're trying to fast track it in today's market, that's what I would be looking to do. You're trading your time for ownership, right? Because right now, if you're in a W-2, you're only as good as your W-2 is going to pay you.
No, this is why I love having these conversations with you. First, they're very unique for my weekly schedule. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people that realize they need a plan B. Maybe they have a high income job, but they see the writing on the wall, or maybe they want to try something different. You never know why. But the idea is there are franchises, there are business models where you could still, you don't have to be the day-to-day operator. You can kind of hire someone to run it. But I love the notion this is your last job, right? So there's a year of transition or 18 months to transition, build the practice up so you don't. The thing that scares me about entrepreneurships is this push to burn the boats. It's just nothing I would have done. But the idea that, I could buy something, I could start it up slowly, I'm not dependent on it, but I can build it up over 18 months and then leave, dude, sign me up. I am far more excited about that. So I love this message of let the first small business, be the last job. So make that last 12 or 18 months or 24 months, whatever that transition period is, make that be the end. And I always talk about your job's not a cage. Let it be the key to your freedom. So again, you buy a business, you buy a franchise, you get an SBA loan, and then you spend, 24 months working 7 days a week. It's okay. It's fine. You can do it. Lots of people do it. And then at the end of 24 months, you got a little reserves, you got a bunch of experience, you got some pipeline, you got some customers, and then you walk into a functioning business. I just think that is exactly what I would have done. Because let's be honest, I would have never burned the boat. I just don't have that in me. But I would build something for a couple of years in transition for sure.
But now you would, because differently now. You have a complete different mindset because you opened your mind. You still have that, underlying fear, deep down fear, which actually drove you to be very successful. But the truth is now you could do it because you wanted to document your journey and through one rental at a time, and right, like now you have 17 streams of income. So unintentionally, you are an entrepreneur. So like if you can do it, and anybody, and you were in sales too, so you had to go make things happen. And I think that's the underlying. I watch a lot of like podcasts. Like in a perfect world, if I could do this I did a TV show in 2013. Actually, one of the guys on the show just got indicted. but the point was, if I could do anything, I would have a TV show where it would be a challenge. If any TV producers are watching this right now, look me up. But you put me in a situation and I have to figure out how to make this business work. Right. And like do that, like and everything would be a mini series. So I go, okay, like, this business is you're going to start a, bookkeeping business or whatever it would be. That would be fun for me. Like, I think like there's so many opportunities out there. I think if you just open your mind. I talked to a guy yesterday. One of my business broker buddies referred me this guy, and he wants to buy an ice cream shop. It's a franchise ice cream shop. And he was calling me about the financing. I ended up spending an hour and a half with the guy, younger guy, probably mid to late 30s. He's a corporate attorney for a bank, right? Very smart guy. And by the end of the conversation, he's like, man, I haven't been looking at things but just like that guy, he's like, look, I'm not quitting my corporate. I'm going to buy this ice cream shop. It has $240,000 a year potentially, or supposedly of 200 of SDE, which is when you hear the words SDE, that's sellers discretionary earnings. That's a big thing when you buy a business. You're looking for what SDE. They'll talk about EBITDA. You'll learn that stuff as you go. But the point is, for this, if that actually, when I get the financials and look at it, how hard is it to manage like a staff of, people that scoop ice cream? I mean, there will be some challenges, but you could start with something like that. His idea was like, look, I need a semi-absentee business to start with. So, and that could potentially replace his salary with one business acquisition.
Yeah. Again, one of the things I love you being on this channel again is you're giving W-2 employees, my avatar, options. You're giving them thoughts. A lot of people have looked up vending. We've had, I don't know, half a dozen folks in the ORAC community sign up for vending, kind of that appetizer business. Others have come back and bought franchises. There's just lots of things out there. And as we go down the path, I think it's interesting just to see what more and more people are looking at. So thank you for bringing us all these opportunities.
Yeah, you just sparked my memory. One of your listeners, very successful in software, does well. Also a very good real estate investor. And he had circled back. We talked maybe a year ago and they circled back and he's like, all right, I'm ready to like really dive in looking at franchises. So I just registered him to talk to 3 franchises, meaning now he's ready to actually talk to them. So, and they're all home service. He's a little bit, nervous. And I said, look, we're just learning. This is what,
this is just education. Yeah.
But then he brought me an opportunity. And I think this is why I'm bringing it up right now. We talked about vertically integrating a business. And so he found this self-storage property. It's got 80 something units on it. It's got commercial, it's a mixed use property. It's got a commercial building downstairs and then 86 separate storage units. So there's commercial that's leased out. You got the 86 self-storage rental units and above there's like 3 or 4 apartments. And so first of all, that's probably SBA eligible. We can do a value add deal. So like you can incorporate SBA. We consider that a business. So
yeah,
but then here's where the light went off. Okay. Like here's where I think the big thing for you guys, vertically integrating. So like if he buys a home service franchise, invest in a franchise, why not put his office there?
Absolutely. Because
let's just say he buys an HVAC business, he needs storage. Boom. Now you have this whole ecosystem and that's where I talk to a lot of ORAP people because, their preference is, hey, I'm a real estate guy or girl. I get it. But if you're only at 2 or 3 right now, and it's spitting off, $1,500 a month of cash flow, and you're 50 or 60 years old, or whatever, you don't have as much runway to get to your 10 rentals or whatever to replace the job. So like, I think vertically integrating into your ecosystem already makes a lot of sense. So like,
no, I think
whatever that means for you.
Yeah. And if you can marry real estate, the physical asset with a business, that just becomes a home run to me. Again, especially if you buy it right and then you do all of those things, that's where things get super sexy.
Yeah. And you can also use something called cost segregation and
exactly
accelerate depreciation. But yeah, I mean, I listen, there's a lot of opportunities. You don't have to do it all at once. You could do a gateway business. I would get in the game or at least start getting your feet wet, start talking. I'm talking to one gentleman, another guy, ORAC guy, and another guy works for a bank, very smart guy. He actually went out and bought one vending machine on his own and placed it. And he likes vending, but he's like, he heard our Plan B episode and he's like, let me talk to you, Bo. And so then I showed him a bunch of franchises. He said, hey, here's 3 I'd like to talk about. And then he gave me a nice list of things to research for him. Cool. So I think there's a lot of things, guys. We're not going to rush you into any decision, but I think you should all be looking at doing something because if you want to move, I think if you want to move forward in any way, when you were actively buying deals, right? Like back when you were hungry, you're not as hungry as you used to be.
Not even close.
Okay. So like, let's just, I know we're running out of time here, but wind back. What did hunger look like for you? Like, as far as like like when you're in your prime of looking at deals?
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
was that like every minute, like after work, that you were just looking during, I mean, how savage were you?
2 or 3 times a day, every day, probably 5 offers a week, probably 10 follow-ups a week. You know, I was probably spending 3 dedicated hours, you know, maybe 5 dedicated hours to getting the next deal. And it was always because Olivia ran the business, so I didn't have to worry about operations. My job was to make money, secure capital, and find deals. So I was hyper focused and very good at what I did. And that meant multiple times. It meant writing lots of offers. It really meant lots of follow-up. What people don't really understand is most of the deals we got was because I was tenacious following up. Deals fell out of escrow, you know, deals, you know, delisted, and I found the owner and went direct. And yeah, dude, I was maniacal. It was crazy.
Well, I think that the reason I brought that up is because I think if you're not looking at deals, whether it's real estate or business, whatever you want to do next, you're not going to get your next deal unless it falls in your lap. And if you don't want to,
Well, even so, I want to hit that one more time, because what people don't realize, I was looking at so many deals every day for 3, 4, 5 years in a row. It became easy for me to find a deal. The reason I asked you to stop is most people don't do that. And thus, what I might call a deal falls in their lap and they don't know it's different. So what do? They're not quick to react. So let's just say, for example, the deal fell in your lap. You didn't know it was a unicorn. And then because you didn't move, it fell into my lap and I realized it was a unicorn. That deal's gone in half a second. Dude, you guys got to do the work.
I lost that ability when I moved. Like when I lived in the Bay Area and I had a real estate brokerage, I would look at real estate a lot. I just knew it. I would be super aggressive. And I moved here and I still have MLS access because I'm licensed and I'm looking at deals, but I lost that ability and I could totally see it. So like that ability is super important for you to like, that's like the focus, because it then like I catch myself always second guessing myself in real estate now. Like I used to not second guess, like, oh, this is a deal. I'm like 100% go look at it. I'm even write an offer before I look at it. Like you have to get that tenacious. And I think that's the point. Like that's why you became successful, because you did that. So if you're not doing that and you're just laid back and in your mind, you want to do all these things, it's not going to happen for you. So that's the biggest takeaway. You gotta be tenacious. Tenacious is a good word for today.
Yeah. Be tenacious, be hungry, get after it. Do the work, folks. Do the work, do the work. Bo, where can they find you?
OneRentalMeeting.com. Book a call. Let's go. And what are we? 12 days out from the event?
Yeah. 10 days. 10 days out. 14.
10 days. 10 days. Yeah. 10 days out. That's awesome. And it's going to be exciting. I look forward to seeing everybody.
Yep. OneRentalMeeting.com. Yes, this crazy man created a URL just for my community. OneRentalMeeting.com. Go get your 15 minutes. Bo, you're amazing. Take care.
Thank you.